welcome back, or welcome if you've never been here before. My name is Lauren Heistad, author to this gargantuan book called Homecoming. It's the journey to my own homecoming and, I don't know, awareness and insights for our collective one. Okay. Today we're on chapter 58. It is called Pieces of the Puzzle. At one point over the years, I became particularly weary, tired. Sorry, it wasn't just at one point, just to be clear. But at this particular point when I was weary, tired, and quite frankly, done with making space for dark, emanating energies in my life. When I got to that point, this chapter began. Not that I couldn't have compassion for where others were coming from and send love. Not that I wasn't able to observe the differences in vibration without getting all self-righteous or zealous in our obvious differences in views, actions, and moral standings. I just eventually concluded that by putting up with or ignoring the obvious lack of balance and collective respect exuded by others, I was in some way, shape, or form contributing to it. Not that I was condoning their behavior or acting without my own moral compass, but that by associating with those who came from less than stellar intentions, I was somehow allowing that vibration to coexist. To put it bluntly, I was officially done with putting up with or ignoring that level of collective bullshit. I was. So done, in fact, that as a physical release to all the times in my life when I had allowed others to take from me, misappropriate my story, or create havoc in my world, I took physical charge of my life in the only way I knew how, by fully scrubbing down and cleaning. Scrubbing down and cleaning out my entire sanctuary as a symbolic gesture for moving forward. From floor to ceiling, every wall within SOULworks sanctuary and every piece of furniture within that sacred space received a full cleanse that day, no exceptions. And truthfully, I was even under the weather and should have stayed home. I should have stayed home in bed. But instead, there was this weird calling, and I dragged myself to work for a much needed therapeutic day of cleansing and shifting energy officially out of my soul works. In doing so, I was not placing blame. I wasn't placing blame. Nor was I unwilling to take responsibility for my own actions regarding the way various events and relationships had unfolded. Instead, it was a personal statement to myself and all others that unless interactions were done in a thoughtful manner, with integrity, honesty and respect towards the well-being of everyone involved. I was done. I was done trying to ignore these imbalances and keeping those relationships afloat. So when I finished cleaning my sanctuary, and very akin to all other moments upon my life path, I was guided to calculate how much time had passed. How much time? Specifically, how long had I knowingly let my physical, mental, and spiritual well-being remain out of balance by the actions and ill intentions of others, until the very day I decided to take responsibility and clean up my own life. It was a very crazy yet specific number. A full 2,300 days had passed until I officially drew the line in the sand. Shocked with the continued unfoldment of events I held no previous knowledge of, another reference found within the scriptures surfaced in my awareness. It was yet another prophecy in the book of Daniel, indicating a full 2,300 days would pass until the sanctuary was cleansed. Like, what the F? A full 2,300 days. Do you know that equates to 6 years, 3 months, and 16 days? With no awareness of that number or the existence of that prophecy on my conscious radar. Yet still, a very accurate and surreal representation of my life's story. I sat pondering, that's the nice way to say what the F, the chances of such an alignment unfolding. Not only in time frame and actions taken. Right? That's crazy. Time frame and actions taken to clean out my sanctuary. But more obviously, the accuracy on how it came to be that I even managed to arrive at and then call a part of my SOULworks Sacred Healing Center a sanctuary, even in the first place. Isn't that weird? I decided it was time to come out to the world years ago, found myself crying in front of a building that I later called SOULworks Sacred Healing Center, and half of that space I called a sanctuary. And 2,300 days after that day when I had begun to let my life become out of balance, to the day I decided I was done. 2,300 days. That's crazy. You can't make that shit up. Now, the other interesting aspect about my biblical timeline is that for many years, my experiences had been limited to being within my own little world. Even though I was going through considerable turmoil, inner growth, soulful alignment, and much cleansing and releasing. From my personal perspective, everything I was experiencing and enduring was most certainly off the global radar. I don't know how, but it was off the global radar, protected, right? Or so I thought. Then one night, many moons later, I ended up within the dreamscape of another lucid reality. I found myself within a huge cathedral-type building, talking to a couple of authoritative figures sitting at a table. There were renovations in progress, with scaffolding all around, the room clearly being grand and expansive, yet very dark and unwelcoming on that particular evening for darn sure. And I was discussing events that were still to unfold while professing how I was no longer willing to condone or ignore what others were doing in the name of God. Their perceived authority was clearly out of alignment with actual truths, causing huge imbalances in the world. Huge. So on my way out of the cathedral that night in my dreamscape, the energy of an old acquaintance sat, waiting in the corner, laughing at my bout of clarity. Laughing. I was told, in a no-nonsense type of tone, that I had no control over the changes unfolding. A reference to a few investments I had made years earlier also surfaced. Remember those? And I was told I would need to make a choice in the next few days. Sell my shares and spinelessly cash out, or buy more and become connected to some of the most powerful people in the world. I replied, just as clearly and in the same no-nonsense type of tone. I had a third option, yet to be presented. I would walk away. Let go of the investment and attachments altogether, thereby completely disassociating from the vibration and morally diminished intentions of all those involved. As I walked towards the exit, a voice yelled after me, "Aren't you going to stick around and see what happens to the place?" To which I replied to myself and all others, sadly, I've already seen the outcome. Regardless of your actions, my voice will not be silenced forever. I made this vow as I walked straight out that huge set of cathedral doors and never looked back. Until the morning. In the morning, I was mulling over the strange encounter from the previous night's dreamscape and reviewing the vivid surroundings with more depth and intrigue. Where was I? Where was I? I questioned my guides as I repeatedly saw scaffolding with what appeared to be visions of stained glass windows coming into focus. My spiritual team clearly expressed the location of my obscure events and confrontations within the night were not yet of my concern. I would put the pieces together very shortly. Was the understanding I clearly received. The present moment was much more important, along with the awareness of a very unique gift being bestowed upon my soul. Being bestowed upon my soul. In that sacred moment, I was handed a circular glass encasement. The importance palatable to my soul, as I gently welcomed a piece of my history back home. Yet my logic clearly unaware of the significance or importance to what I had just been gifted. Truth. In fact, I strained to see the contents held within this obscure piece of glass, firmly placed between my hands, divided into 3 sections. The circular encasement accommodated an object with 1/3 of the glass being much clearer than the other 2 ornate sides of decorative filament. My guide spoke with conviction. Don't concern yourself with the contents of the glass encasement right now either. Just remember, it was energetically returned to its rightful owner moments before the changes began to unfold. Remember what you have been shown and experienced. It was much later that morning when I became solemnly aware of the global shift in progress across the vast sea. Notre Dame Cathedral was on fire as many stood helplessly watching the spire topple to the ground. I burst into tears. Of course I did. I burst into tears and grieved the loss with notable confusion and an overwhelming reaction to a cathedral I knew nothing about. All I knew for sure was that it was by divine design. I had been sitting down as I both witnessed the raging fire in motion and began to investigate Notre Dame de Paris. Starting to put the pieces from my previous night's activities into perspective, I became aware of the scaffolding and renovations within Notre Dame at the time. The stained glass windows from my visions accurately graced the cathedral upon high. More shockingly, the circular glass object gifted to me as the rightful owner, was depicted online as the crown of thorns, housed within those very walls of Notre Dame. My mind continued to reel as more information presented itself in the days to come. Understandings of the cathedral being originally built in honor of the divine feminine legacy and voice of Mary Magdalene bubbled to the surface. The confusion of a relic crown being returned to myself as a reference to the rightful owner within the very same time frame of my personal declaration that my voice would be heard. The connection to the cathedral in Paris and my own more local experience denoted in my second book was also surreal, with similar landscapes, visions, scaffolding, a fire, and renovations within an event and timeline from my 1335th day. The scope and implications of all those pieces being connected was both astounding, yet emotionally overwhelming. Yeah, for sure. And just in case I did not get the memo or doubted the connections between my own local timeline and the bigger, larger landscape on a global level, still in progress. I received an interesting email a day later. After 4 years of having no contact or information regarding that investment I made years earlier, I was contacted and made aware of a choice point in time. Sell out now, or buy into a bigger monopoly unfolding. Dropping to my knees. To my knees. I sobbed at the reality of my independent timeline officially starting to merge with the global one. I also fully grieved the blatant reality that despite my insecurities, the scope of my own SOULworks continues to reach beyond all time, logic, and space. The events certainly amplified, yet again, the importance of my story, but with no solid understanding on how to proceed. One thing I knew for sure: selling out was not an option, nor was buying into more of the same old, dominated financial and spiritual overtones that have been ruling the world for far too long. Not a chance. Instead, I would proceed with my third and self-professed option. I would clear myself from the debris, be my own voice, walk away from all situations that were not for the highest good of everyone involved, and rise from the ashes. Okay. Pep talk received. Moving forward. There's another letter inserted here. This one's a little different. Dear bringers of the light in myself and all others. Well, it's certainly been a while, but I stayed true to my promise to return to my teachings. My timing brings forth a pep talk to myself and now to you, because I know you are perhaps feeling frustrated and confused with your own progress. Make no mistake, my friends. Your thoughts, words, and actions are most certainly creating a stir of change and beautiful transformation within yourself and all others. As you rise above your own fears, you help lift the vibration of oppression from the planet. As you strive to be kind to yourself and all others, you echo a new song of hope and endurance across the ages. While you learn to trust the deeper wisdom from within. You rewrite, and many of the old untruths still being whispered. As you rise each day, with your dreams still intact, you plant the seeds of new possibilities for the whole of humanity. As you courageously face your own demons day after day, you gain momentum into transcending old thoughts, beliefs, and ancestral patterns. Like a cleanup crew, you are bringing truth and healing to the surface. While you acknowledge the divine soul in all people, the divine soul within all people continues to awaken. As your soul potential continues to strengthen in both light and resolve, we dance together, like the northern lights upon the darkness of this world, daring the shadows to awaken to the power of love. As you rise into your heart center and find your true voice, darkness fades in the background, like a piece of the past soon to be forgotten. Good riddance, I say. That, and well done, my friends. Well done. There is no denying there's a new sheriff in town. For those who are new to this soulful adventure, we call it love. Welcome home. Kindest regards, bringer of the truth. Okay. Mastering your SOULworks. My eyes need adjusting again. Okay, when I reached the 2300th day, within my personal timeline, I was dumbfounded yet again by the miraculous chain of events still in progress. How was it that my soul always found the right thing to do at the exact right moment within a global timeline still unfolding? Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret of mine that I don't often confess. I hardly ever know how I'm going to get from point A to point B. Anytime I have ever had a vision or worked to put my dreams into action, my logical mind and her grandiose ideas of how to accomplish my goals are never actually completely accurate, ever. What does happen, though, is this amazing dance I do with my spirit. Visions that I have seen start to swirl together as pieces snap into place. Ideas begin to align, and thoughts that perhaps drifted through my mind months or even years back begin to make sense as the bigger picture takes shape and unfolds before me. Truth. But never in all that time is it my logical mind that comes up with a solution or puts me into action. No matter how many hours I may spend in contemplation, the answers that bring true momentum and change never comes from my mind or personal preferences. They come from my soul. Regardless of how much I may have manifested or how many fears and hurdles I have climbed. It has never once been the directives of my own opinions, understandings, or judgments that brought those changes into being. It has always been by listening to the subtle nudges from within my soul. I have even been known to swear up and down I will never do something, and then suddenly change my direction because in a moment of soulful clarity, I will remember visions I have had, discussions with my guides that have taken place, and insights that have crossed my inner mind. It is at that exact point, regardless of how scared, insecure, or unprepared I feel, I do listen. I do. And I take those leaps of faith to put change into action. Always. I technically work on jigsaw puzzles in the same manner. I may look at the pieces, try to plan out the best way to start the process, or overanalyze the colors and shapes extensively. But when I truly move into the flow of my spirit, higher self, I don't even need to look at the pieces I am about to place. I just do. I follow the nudge and can clearly see how it fits into the bigger picture without looking at the shape, color, or even orientation. I just move forward with faith, and the pieces snap into place. Remember this. The next time you spend hours upon hours trying to find the answer or figure a solution on how to proceed, your soul will always let you know. You can argue with her, but your soul will always let you know when it is yet again time to take another step or leap. In the meantime, enjoy where you are now. There's no need to rush at this thing we call life. The stars always align in their own time. Reach for them. Definitely reach for them. But then remember to enjoy the view from the present moment. Guess what? It's your move. Stand your moral ground. And meet it firmly and solidly. Stand behind your values, morals, and ethical scruples to adhere to the vibration you wish to emanate. If you want to see change in this world, start by moving towards thoughts, actions, people, businesses, and situations that align to those moral standings. We can certainly have compassion for ourselves and all others. However, supporting or ignoring behaviors that no longer meet the frequency we strive to achieve for this world, that only continues to allow their existence. I gotta reread that. I read it too slow. Okay. We can certainly have compassion for ourselves and all others. However, supporting or ignoring behaviors that no longer match the frequency we strive to achieve for this world only continues to allow their existence. It was better the second time I said it, wasn't it? It's time to grow beyond the past and create change. Next, embrace your piece of the puzzle. When my personal timeline began to take shape within the larger global one, my perception was undeniably altered forever. It was a this shit just got real moment and perspective which I had never experienced, right? Sure, I'd spoken up for years about how our spirit can affect and interact with the bigger picture. And I had already declared my connection to biblical times. I had. However, never before that moment was the reality so evident. Truth. Fact. We are each a unique and important piece to the greater cosmic puzzle. Make peace with that truth. This is not a competition. It is a collective effort of compassion and understanding. Please remember that we do make a difference. We do, regardless of what is happening on a global scale. Individually, we still have a voice. Learn to use it. Next, clean your sanctuary. Your home, your inner mind, your place of work, and even your deepest closets. Give them a healthy purging while holding the intention to give yourself and this world a good release and upgrade. There is so much benefit to matching a physical outpouring of energy in unison with focused thought and intent. In fact, if you want to shift a reality in your world, release bonds of coercion, or let go of the past, remember to integrate concentrated actions with mindful activity. The combination of physical action with focused intent facilitates change 1,000-fold. Next, accept confirmation. The link between the investment dollars, my cleansing of the sanctuary, and my timely visit to the cathedral was that all three situations involved clearing out and stepping away from low-lying energy and intentions. Within my dreamscape, my guides were also able to use a very personal and legitimate email arriving within a few days to also confirm all other aspects witnessed within the same night as valid and real. Fact. Accept confirmation as validation to your personal experiences. My guides will often use current events to help me see other elements arriving in my life. I didn't say that very clearly. I'll do it again. My guides will often use current events to help me see other elements arriving in my life. For example, if I have already planned what clothes I'm wearing tomorrow, and then in the night have a dream of somebody contacting me while wearing those clothes, I know full well that person will be arriving the very next day. right on schedule. Be mindful of these fleeting but very detailed events in both visions and dreams. They hold keys to your awakened unfoldment. Next, embrace divine timing. Regardless of our individual expression within this world, there is a far greater cycle and timeline still in progress. Honor that. Honor that. Divine timing is a two-part process that involves waiting for the stars to align while being bold enough to reach for the stars. Divine timing is breathtakingly beautiful. Breathtakingly beautiful. When all the stars align, you can't help but feel complete inner peace. And finally, rise from the ashes. Rise above your own fears and insecurities. Surpass, not suppress, oh my gosh, no. Surpass old doctrines. Remove outdated belief systems. Step into your own soul potential. If you are reading this book or listening to my words, you are a part of the amazing tribe of light workers here to bring both light and truth to the surface. This is why we are all here. And this is exactly what we have been working towards for centuries. It is time to rise. I will see you there.